Hey folks, Danny here at PARTAY. So today I'm just going to show you the application across the fixed frame screen. This is a fixed frame pine screen that I'd made. I've used numerous times. This is one that has a lot of texture on it. And currently in the floor it has Polaris as the coating, and I'm going to change that out here with Sirius A. So I'm just kind of mixing up the formula, and that's something you're going to want to do, whenever you get the formula, you're definitely going to want to stir the bottom and the sides because you want to make sure that the tint, which is a powder, sometimes it'll want to settle to the bottom, so you want to make sure you get it stirred up real good. Just showing you my old beat up roller I used there. Nothing special. I wouldn't use anything. I would always recommend that you use a fresh roller. Do as I say, not as I do. I would just recommend it. I do a lot of coatings on these, so I'll use the same roller over and over and over again. But especially if you're new to this, I would definitely recommend that you use a fresh roller. And it's a 1/4 inch nap roller. You can use a 3/8. Just know that once you start getting above a 3/8 roller, you're probably going to be introducing more texture to the screen than what you would want. So just be cautionary with that. But you're going to see I'm going to pour about a big plate sized, like a dinner plate sized amount over on one side there. And then we're just going to go through the steps. And I'm doing this roll a little slowly by comparison to how I usually roll, just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then at the end, so you can see closer, I do a small panel where I just kind of replicate the application steps. Very easy. Only takes, I think the total time here was like 6 minutes and something to paint the screen. So it doesn't take very long at all. It's not hard. It's not complicated. It's just actually taking the material. You saw I poured it out. Taking the material and then spreading it across the screen. I'm not actually trying to paint the screen at this point. I'm just trying to make sure that I get the material spread all over the screen. Why is that important? A lot of times, especially with thick viscous paints, if you start in an area, you can pour out a good bit and start, rolling your area. But just like on a wall, you're only going to get so far, and then it starts running thin, and you're going to have to pour more. It would take much more paint to paint this if you were using just standard acrylic paint. And you're not going to get the visual results that you're looking for out of that kind of paint anyway. But essentially, taking this, and I'm just kind of moving it across the screen, making sure that this screen has a lot of little divots in it from where I've cut it and done all kinds of things. And I'm trying to get just a solid, uniform kind of application on here. So I'm taking time with little pockets. When you're doing a screen like this, you've got a center bar, and then you've got your frame on the outside. Either side of this screen from the center bar is going to want to sag. So once again, one of the reasons I'm just taking the time to make sure that I get the material all over the screen, and then I'm going to go back and actually do the paint steps, which is steps 2 and 3 from the application steps that you would have in hand with your product there. So you can see I'm not doing anything kind of special, just I'm here, there, everywhere, just kind of moving it around, making sure that I get just the total surface coated. Now that I've got it coated, I'm going to come back and I'm going to use some pressure. Now you're not trying to push the roller through the screen, obviously. But what you're trying to do is just put enough pressure to really squeeze and lay that material down, spread it across your screen evenly. Now, when I say evenly, on either side of the roller, every time that you do a roll across, you're going to have a little roll line of material, and that's why we do the third step. Because you are putting pressure, it's a thin material. So as you're laying the material down you notice I'm just going line by line here. And as you're laying the material down, you can't see it from here, but you're going to have small roll lines on either side of your roller. So we're going to want to take care of that in step 3. But step 2 is really about making sure that you don't have any of this that's just kind of pulled up somewhere, that it's all spread out evenly across the screen. Taking just a little bit of time around the edges to make sure that I don't have any lines there where the wood frame actually meets the screen. All right, so now we're going to start step 3, which is I'm just going to take the roller. I just pretty much let the roller bar lay in my hand and just kind of push it across and pull it back. And I'm going half over, and I'll show you what that means, what that looks like here in just a second, but I'm going half over each previous line just to roll out the little roll marks from where I was putting pressure on it. This is just kind of evening out the roll, just to make sure you don't have any heavy lines anywhere from your previous pressure roll. You see how fast that goes? Very quick. And then I'll just kind of touch up on some little areas there on the side, around the edges, just to make sure that we're good. This process, taking it across from one end of the screen to the other end of the screen rather than top to bottom, avoids having any kind of lines on that middle bar. Because if you roll, say, the height of the screen to the bottom of the screen, and you go across that center bar, you're always going to have a little more material on either side of that bar that'll want to dry thicker. So it's always better to go across the bar from side to side. All right, so there's roll number 1. I'm going to show you the second roll, which really kind of wasn't necessary. Now, I dried this by just putting on the fan. Took it roughly about, I think it was 12 minutes for it to dry with the fan on it. So not very long at all. And then we're ready for a second coat. So we'll just repeat the same process over again. You can see that screen's already much darker. On this one, I could have gotten away with just one roll, because the Polaris was the tone underneath it. But I noticed a couple of areas where it was thin, and I wanted to go back and do my second roll. So once again, just a second roll across it to make sure that you get the material to the right color and you got a good uniform finish across the whole screen. Again, going across that center bar. That's always kind of the primary thing for me whenever I'm doing fixed frame screens that are already existing, already got material on them, is just to worry about that bar. Now this bar is already wrecked, but I want to show you how I would approach it if I was doing a new screen, or I was doing a screen where I didn't have any kind of roll texture or anything like that, where my center bar was. This is kind of how you'd want to approach it to make sure that you keep from having one. Now you don't have to pour this out onto the screen like I did. You can use a paint tray. All I would recommend is whatever paint tray you use, make sure that it matches with your roller. And I know that seems silly, but I have had people reach out to me and say, well, I've got a 9-inch, 1/4-inch roller, but my paint tray is only 6 inches wide. Well, that's not made for that roller, so you would need to have a paint tray or use something as a paint tray to pour your paint into to be able to load your roller up. You can see second coat going very simple, very easy, very quick. One of the whole points of the way that this is designed, got the hiccups, sorry folks. One of the reasons it's designed the way that it is because, look, I paint a lot, and not just, screens, but in the renovation of this house, there's been a lot of painting, all kinds of things. I've painted cars, got 3 friends that actually paint cars for a living. You're not going to do that with a roller, obviously. But the point here being is that, the kind of paint that you use on a wall, it doesn't go on so simple. You'll notice you'll start doing, most people I've ever seen do zigzags. And at a point very quickly, you realize you're out of paint. You need to load your roller up again. This thin material here is set up so that it's very easy to roll across the screen. You're not having to sit and wear your arm out trying to push and squeeze paint out of your roller. There's been, I don't recommend this, but just to give you an idea of how that works, there's been a number of times where I painted the screen and then come back and my roller still has enough material in it to almost do another coat by itself. That's how easy this stuff applies. And we're just going to get those edges and wrap that up. And then here in just a second, I'm going to show you on an up-close panel so that you can get a better idea of what I mean. If there's anybody out there that's confused, I don't think so, but if there's anybody out there confused, we want to make sure that you understand that what we're doing, folks, is making sure that you understand how this should be applied to your screen and not leaving you out there on your own without any kind of instructions or just telling you that you can paint it any way you want to. And you're going to get excellent results, because as we've seen with many, I'm not just talking about Ken right now, but with other paints where you do have roll lines. I was at a church not too long ago where they had painted, they'd obviously mixed up some sort of gray with some sort of metallic paint, and it was glossy as all get out. But they had painted a piece of wall in a church conference room, and there were V lines all across the screen just from the roller marks. Really bad. I mean, it looks bad when you don't have an image on the screen, and when you do have an image on the screen, it looks worse. So just wrapping up our soft roll here, no pressure. What was funny about this is, I don't really think about this often, but when you paint so much, I guess, you get really anything that you do, if you do it a lot, you should, some people don't, Ken, get really, really good at it. But what you'll notice here is there's no paint on the floor. Whenever I finished, there wasn't a drop. But if you do get some on the floor, all you need is just a wet paper towel or something like that. Just you don't even have to have it super wet, just have it damp. Now if you drop a lot, there was a day I was walking right behind where I am right now. I was walking into the hallway and I was carrying just a little measuring cup that I had some material in, and I was moving it to set it aside and put it back in my storage area, and I dropped it and it went everywhere. And now it was a pain just in the sense that I was frustrated and didn't feel like cleaning it up. But it cleans up super easy. Just some paper towels and a little wet paper towel, just to get up anything. But this stuff it dries fast, but even if it's dry, you're going to be able to clean it up pretty quick. Now, if you left it sitting there for 5 or 6 years, it may be hard to get up, but anything within, say, an hour, couple hours, you're going to be fine. All right, so the screen's finished there. Now we're going to move into showing you what it would look like, up close using a small panel, just to give you an idea as to when I say, do a roll, then start next to where you did your preceding roll, what I mean. So here's one I've already done the first coat. And this is on a light. That's why I recommend that you use black, because you're going to use less material. This is a light gray that I painted it on. But you're going to see I'm going to do the second coat, and I'm going to show you here just how simple it is. So one, move the paint around. So you saw I was doing that on the screen. It's obviously going to take a little less time to do it here because this isn't screen size. Then come back and use a little bit of pressure to push. You see how I'm spreading that out? And I'm starting from where I left off from the previous roll. Now I'm going to go back and do my light roll, and you're going to see I come half over right there. So halfway across the previous line, and do that across the screen. It's that simple. That's it. I'll take, there's our screen. I'm going to take it. I took it outside on the back porch for it to dry because the sun was out. So you can see that's the dried end result. Nice, kind of thin finish there. And then next I'm going to take it in just to show you that it actually matches the large screen that I just painted. So there you go. So very easy application, folks. If you run into any snags, you have any questions, feel free to email me at partayav@gmail.com. And with that, I think we've got enough material for people to be able to paint this in a way that gives them a really refined finish. So thank you for your purchase, and you guys take care. Bye.